past few weeks.
Okay, Brendan, we are now recording. So I see that you're in a hospital. Can you
Yeah,
please tell the viewers where you are and what brought you to this room?
yeah. Well, I'm in Dnipro, which is the biggest city in the east of Ukraine, which is more or less a hub for everything. And Dnipro has the largest military hospital in the country. They have several here. And last night I drove over some landmines, and my truck went boom.
Oh my,
So yeah, um, maybe if I could, I'd just tell you about what I've been doing for the past few weeks.
Please.
Yeah. Now the last time we did an interview, I was in Kiev, and I'd come off what we call a rotation in a combat medic battalion. We have ambulances, casualty evacuations with four-wheel drives, where you go right to the front and get them out to these makeshift field hospitals. And yeah, I just finished that rotation for 6 weeks, and we had talked. And through fundraising efforts, I was actually on my way to Germany. I went to Germany to buy four-wheel drives and some generators. But yeah, when I came back, I delivered them. But it became apparent where I was and where the war was. The war wasn't there anymore. Okay. And in the east of Ukraine, where the Russians have been concentrating most of their efforts, that's where I was needed. And with one of the four-wheel drives, I made a casualty evacuation vehicle with a stretcher in the back. And what those are used for is to basically get somebody as fast as you can to an ambulance, because ambulances don't go that far. Now, what people don't seem to understand, sometimes nothing happens in war. And what happened here, I know Ukraine is off the minds of most people. I hate to spoil your dinner, but we were losing in the east, in Severodonetsk, in Lysychansk. These are cities that became quite popular again in the news briefly. And when the army pulled out of Lysychansk, the Russians never expected us to give it up, and it created a vacuum. And for 2 weeks, there was virtually no fighting. Everybody would shoot their artillery every day just to let each other know that we were still here. Now I've been here for over a month, and approximately 2 weeks ago, the Russian assault started again, and we've been losing ground slowly and steadily for this past 2 weeks. But I was asked, would I help with evacuation of civilians from villages and towns, which later led to cities. And there was land we could go into for 2 days, 3 days. We would bring food, humanitarian aid from places like World Food Program, World Central Kitchen. And we would bring it into these villages, and we would get orders for people that wished to be evacuated, that wanted to go to the west. Now, some people would come, some people would stay, and little by little, over I would say a week of doing. I've done this work for about 3 weeks, but in that first week, villages that we went to, we could no longer go to. And we're only talking about 5 kilometers different distance between them. And then we would go to the next village, and with the evacuations, nobody believes it will happen to them, and nobody wants to leave their home. Especially rural people don't want to leave their homes. They have cows, they have chickens, they grow their own vegetables, they have root cellars, like the way it used to be. These beautiful gardens where apricot trees and cherry trees, and I wouldn't want to leave either. But what happens, some left, but the ones who really want to stay, they don't want to leave until someone they know dies, or until their neighbor's house got blown up, or maybe even their own house. So this is quite an intense job, because they would make our lives easier if they would have left weeks ago, but that's not the nature of it, you understand. Many of the people are elderly. But all of a sudden, I was asked to go to places like Seversk, which would be been a city of 50,000, or Soledar, which we're currently in a battle we're losing. And over the past 5 days, um, I've been, not bragging, but I've been at the spearhead of an effort to evacuate the city of Soledar. And I would really like to tell you this, like we pick up old people, young people, mostly older people. If I'm honest, an old grandfather, an old grandmother. And when we drive out of town, now I imagine you bought groceries for your mother and your father. You used to do, I imagine when they were still here, you would do that for them, right?
Sure.
So when we're driving 2-3 kilometers on the way out of town, it's a complete, they're shocked that the supermarket has a crater in it, and it's only 3-4 kilometers away. And these are people in their 70s, 80s, even 90s. They didn't know. They
Wow.
hear it in the distance. They don't. It's so shocking. But yeah, we go to these places. We go into the basements, and I try to do it non-threateningly, like telling them, this is what the Russians did here. This is what they did there. But I try to give them, especially the older ones and the young ones with kids, to let them know, you're going to be evacuated to Dnipro. There's all kinds of Western money that's still available from these organizations. They won't come here, but I'll get you there. And then you can choose what you want to do. If you want to go to Poland, if you want to go to Germany, if you want to go somewhere else in Ukraine and you have family there, they'll get you there even faster because it costs them less money. They understand that. They know money makes the world go round, and they don't have it. Quite frankly, that's why the people with money left. Okay, so I'll speed it up. As I know, I'm the only foreigner that goes with the Ukrainians to what we call zero line and beyond. That's Russian. And I don't want to go there, but I don't want them to go alone. Through the fundraising I've done in the past for the 4-wheel drives, I have a Mitsubishi 4-wheel drive. I have one of the most capable vehicles out here. I really do, in terms of 4-wheel drive, turn ratio, turn radius. That's important when you're driving around some of the things we do here. And if it's really bad, we've been able to fit up to 15 people in it, because I have all the seats ripped out in the back except one for the infirmed and the really elderly. But what happened last night, I sat in a cellar for about an hour. There was 2 families living in there, grandmother's extended family, and the cellars in these apartment blocks are quite extensive. Tunnels, I think it was a Soviet thing. They were always, for the Cold War, it was always planned. I believe that, I don't know. But I had a long talk with a grandmother and explained those things, that nobody's going to force you to do anything. And when you get to Dnipro, if you need a week, a month, you can decide. But I also told her, I said, what I really want is for the girls to come and the father to agree, because there was these 2 good-looking young girls that would have been between 16 and 18. And the fact is, Larry, they're going to get raped, and they're going to get raped a lot. And that's what happens, and we know this, and we have proof that that's what happens in all these cities. So I agreed to go on a mission, one last mission, and it was farther than we'd ever been in Soledar, and we called them suicide missions. And I told that grandmother that I had a talk with, I says, I want the kids to come, but I'd like you to, whether you come or not, I'm gonna go on this trip. And if I make it back, I promise I'll come see you, whether you leave or not. Because we build up a rapport by just being soft, and I tell her about my failed relationships and how I've lost everything before, and I know what it's like to start over. They
Yes.
like that. They like that, you know. Just be real. But we set off on the road, and it was about a 5 kilometer journey, and the line, if that's what you want to call it, it changes very often. What was ours wasn't ours. The next day it might be ours again, yeah, but probably not, because we're on the losing end now. But what I did, I followed another vehicle in over onto the Russian side, and when we crossed a bridge, I seen these very large pucks, about 12 to 18 centimeters long. They're mines, but they're not any mine. They're anti-tank mines, and they don't have to hide those. And we drove around them through like a little maze. And I got the vehicle behind one of these big apartment blocks, the SUV, and I parked it as tight as I could against the wall, because the Russian shells come over the building. And we walked down the road because we couldn't, there was a crater. And what we saw, we went to a house, and they were living in their cellar, in their basement. And when I walked in there, there was a metal garbage can with coals inside of it, and there was a grate on the top. They were cooking their dinner, but they were cooking it in the stairwell because they're so scared to come out. I went downstairs to offer to help with bags, and they had 4 children between the ages of maybe, say, 4 and 16. And one of the little boys was so scared, I gave him a helmet. I put on his helmet, and you can play soldier. I got Philip. Philip gave his helmet to another one. And we walked them very calmly. We even found a grandmother on the street who was ready to go, a babushka. And we just took a really slow walk at babushka's pace, and we crossed over the crossroad where the wide opening is. And there was no shooting at the time, but I said, we're not going to run. We're just going to go nice and calm. We're going to hold our hands. And I had them against the building in the best cover I could get, but not in the vehicle. And then the Russian translator was with me, Philip. He said, because I'm the last to know, because I'm the English speaker, yeah. I know many words, but when we drive, and when we drive in a hotspot, they're given instructions. Everybody shuts up, no crying. And Brandon knows 3 words: prema, prava, leva. Stop, stop, stop. Prema, prava, leva. And that's the way I drive out of these places. Straight, left, and right.
Oh.
Yeah, but they went to get these. They went down the road even further, because they heard there was 13 people. And they said I should go. But I waited. And sure enough, 2 more older people came down the road. But the reason I waited, Larry, is because I struggle with this, and I have to be honest. I'm scared I won't come back. I'll follow them into anywhere, but I've done this a few times. I've been the runner where I run people out when there's gunfire, and I go back in, but every time I'm scared that I'll be a coward and I won't go back in for them. So I didn't want to leave. If I'm all honest with you, I put that family maybe in a little bit more danger, and I waited. And until one of the volunteers came back, Victor, and he said, we have 13 more Phillips waiting. I'll help you get these people out. We had 2 vehicles. I followed them out, and once we got past the mines, I drove as fast as I could, and we got them to a safe place, about 8 kilometers away, where a Sprinter van waits for them. But when we were there, Victor wanted to talk to somebody, and I said, Victor, there's no fucking time to talk. It's going to be dark soon, and my eyes aren't that good in the dark. We have to go now. And we raced around the corner, and I record everything in my phone, in my chest, my armor.
Yeah.
And I said a little word to myself. I watched it back today, And what I said, I do not have the courage of a Ukrainian. I won't go alone, but I won't let them go alone. That's what I said. And I don't know why I said that twice.
Yeah.
But right once I went around the corner and I was following him, the dust picked up from following the trail in the vehicle on a dirt road.
Yeah.
And I couldn't quite see the path he took. And then all I remember, and I have it on film, it boom, 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 and then glass, everything was flying everywhere. I slammed on the brake through muscle memory. I put it in park, and I pretty much fell out of the truck. And what I seen about a meter ahead of me was an anti-tank mine. There's different types of mines, yeah.
Yeah.
Now I have friends of mine from Afghanistan that have no legs, because they've stepped on them. I don't know what type of mines, but it was at least two. It was maybe three. And everything in the vehicle, every bit of glass, the glove compartment was blown up, the armrest that opens up, every possession came out of it. Even the cigarette lighter where I have my USB charger, it popped out and shot out the back of the vehicle.
My God.
He kept on driving, and I said, I'm done. Go, go, go. And he kept going. I don't know the details of how they did it. I still don't know, but they got all 13 people out. Those two boys, where I said, and we were on where I was driving by was the last Ukrainian. We don't know where the soldiers are, but they came down, the Ukrainians, and they drugged me, and I got my medical kit, and they even made time for me to get my passport out of the vehicle because that's important. And they drugged me up a hill into a what we call an overhead protection from artillery, and they held me there, and they had a fight. But when the fight stopped, I was concussed. I didn't know at the time. I followed them, and they said, follow every step we take. And we ran, and they held me in a house for a few hours, and they fed me, and we had cigarettes, and we ate tins of fish and whatever they had. And they found me a way out that night, and I got to the Kramatorsk hospital, and and the next day, because I know a lot of people, I get to know a lot of people.
Yes.
The next day, some guys from another army unit that I know quite well, Big Anton, big bald Anton with his goatee, and he's the manliest man in the world, but you want him as your friend. And he came to see me, and I just say on my clothes, I never wear the Ukrainian flag because it's not mine. Kind of like in the army, you've heard of that stolen valor.
Yes.
They talked about kind of, it's not my patch, it wasn't my unit,
Yeah.
but he came and he put one of these on me today.
Wow.
And I'll tell you what, I've always wanted to be one of the boys.
Yes.
I know I've only lost my hearing, and there's a lot of people a lot worse, but on that last suicide mission, we got 21 people. Now I didn't get I got eight out, and he carried on without me, but I don't want to give my life, but that would be a fair trade, Larry, because there was at least 6-7 children, not just old people. But he gave me this flag, and I've never worn one before because I don't think it's right. I'm not Ukrainian. All the Americans over here with their pictures, they wear it.
Yeah.
They don't do what we do, but I'm gonna wear this. I will always wear this flag on my uniform now. But I should wash. I'm 5 days in this shirt. But yeah, I'm really proud of this. I'm going to be at least 10 days in the hospital. I know I'm supposed to have a surgery. I don't know the details of it. My truck is gone. But I've been fundraising now. A lot of people have put trust in me since I pulled off the first German trip.
Yes.
And I've been fundraising for more and more generators, mostly diesel generators, which are very expensive.
Yes.
To give you an idea, the cheapest diesel generator it's about 3 times the price of a gas generator, unless you're getting the fancy Honda one.
Yeah.
But it's just because it's a reliable source of fuel that if we don't have diesel, the tanks stop, everything stops. So the army, the hospitals, it all runs on diesel.
Yes.
So I'm gonna use some of that fundraiser money. Right now, I've done quite well. I've worked very hard at it too, but I'm gonna use some of that fundraiser money to get me another vehicle.
Yes.
And we already have 2 generators in Germany because the prices are much better there, you know. And we have other supplies waiting. People have helped, like the Rotary Club, a German Rotary Club gave 5,000 euros to make folding fabric stretchers to my specifications that I drew out. There's so many people willing to help. I call that professional help, because they can make or provide exactly what we need. That like if you can't help professionally, then just send money.
Yes.
And some people don't want to do that, but they want to force. I don't want to sound rude. I've even had someone say, I want to mail dog food to Ukraine. And this is somebody I used to train their kid in boxing. I says, you didn't offer me anything, and why don't you Google it? Like Stu, just think.
Yes.
But yeah, we've been really lucky with support, but it's this isn't going to be over soon. And I'm so passionate about generators because at a medical point I worked at for a month, they had a 3.5 kilowatt generator. If you understand power, that's not much.
Yes.
And then I found a diesel generator, and I couldn't refuse. I bought it that day for 1,500 euros. Now with that, they have 7 kilowatts. So they can run vitals monitors. The lights don't flicker anymore. They don't have to wear a headlamp.
Yes.
So my passion is generators, but not just for the hospitals, but for where a lot of the civilians will hold up. And you know what? I'll be honest, even the army. Because if the army goes, remember those girls I told you about?
Yeah.
If the Ukrainian army falls back and those girls are there,
Yeah.
you know what's going to happen. So my passion is I need to keep fundraising. I had almost all the money for the generators. I was ready to go once we finished these evacuations over the next couple of weeks, but now I've got to get another vehicle. So it's never enough.
No.
But I'm very say la vie. It
Yeah.
will be what it will be, but I don't stop trying.
Yeah. Brad,
So
you've got the next 10 days. We know where to find you. So I hope you all keep us all informed. I know we watch you all the time and we're following.
I'm glad. And you, Norma, you've supported me financially.
And we
I'll
will.
out him right now. George, many people from the shows who
Yes.
knew me as a younger boy have helped.
Yes.
And wow.
I listen. My heart goes out to you where you're sitting right now because I know you'd rather be out helping people than have people wait on you.
Well, it feels really good. You know, there's a church group that we get them to in another city. The sprinter vans, we relay them to the sprinter, they take them, but we always take the last people in every day
Yes.
ourselves. And it's after dark. You can't do this at dark. And those church people, they bake fresh bread every day, like probably 50, 60 loaves. And the people will stay the night and they go to Dnipro the next day in the buses. But they take care of us. Like there's a kitchen when I can come in at night, and they just like it's such a good feeling to do something for them, and they care. Like, yeah, I need to be back there, Larry, because those are the best people in the world.
It's almost 6 p.m. here Sunday night. What time is it where you are?
That's a very good question.
It's 6
Uh,
p.m. here. What are you, 7 hours ahead or?
it's almost 1.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Listen, if anybody wants to help,
yes.
I feel honesty is the best way here. I don't try to sell. The only reason I created social media again is because I went broke here trying to do this. Every post I put up, and I'm if I dare say I post for a reason,
Yes.
for impact. It's purely for the donations. I get so many people say thank you for sharing an insight that we don't see.
No,
Well,
it's more
I'm
than
glad. That's
yes.
good.
Sure.
But but that's not why I do it.
I'm gonna put some information at the bottom where where people who want to can send donations. Because
For
again,
Canadians, the e-transfer is the best. I know you have a small British audience. My back's turned. On every one of my posts at the bottom,
yes,
there is a flag from what country you come from, whether you be British or Canadian, that's the best way to send the money. And then if it's somewhere else, it's PayPal.
I'll copy and paste that because again, my viewers spread far and wide. I'm talking to somebody in Ukraine in a hospital right now, you know.
And you used to sell picture frames in Australia, and you demoed in France, but you don't speak French. And
no, c'est correct. And I mean, it all started with cleaning eyeglasses for free. You know, that's
yeah, we're glad we could clean your glasses and you can see better. But that my primary objective was
Brandon.
No, what I'm gonna say, anybody who's a showman,
yes.
The biggest insult personally to me and many demonstrators for years is at the end, and someone says, "Wow, you're really good."
Yes.
And they walk away.
Great demonstration. Yes, yes. And obviously not great enough, right?
But no, I'm just completely honest about my intentions. That's my sole intention.
There's nothing wrong with asking for money, especially when the cause in this situation it means so much. So Brandon, ask away, and I'm going to put a link on the bottom. Norm and I are going to again help out again. And listen, I really appreciate you taking this time, but it is 1 o'clock in the morning and it's time. It's lights out now, Brandon. Okay. You got another big day ahead of you tomorrow. Okay.
Close on this and we'll end the call. With help from others, but out of 5-6 vehicles in the besieged town of Soledar, we got 300 plus people out over the past 5 days. And on the run that I got blowing up, we got 21 out. So what's that worth to you? Good night.
Good night, Brandon. Thank you.